Hello and welcome to Business 360. I'm Shireen Bhan. The headlines that we're tracking for you this evening. Stocks tumble on Dalal Street. The Nifty drops below 20,000, marking the worst single-day fall in 2 months. HDFC Bank shares see the worst sell-off in 4 months as brokerages fear pressure on margins and return ratios. Amidst a diplomatic standoff, the government issues an advisory asking Indian nationals and students in Canada to exercise utmost caution. Canada's Prime Minister Trudeau says they're not looking to provoke or escalate the issue, but calls on India to take the killing of a Sikh separatist leader with utmost seriousness. Opposition leaders, including Sonia Gandhi, support the Women's Reservation Bill in Lok Sabha but demand OBC quota and early implementation of the law. TMC's Mahua Moitra asks, why should the bill wait for the government to count members and draw lines? DMK's Kani Moi questions the secrecy around the introduction of the bill. India's household savings declined to a 47-year low, according to an RBI report. Savings have dropped to just over 5% of GDP in FY23, compared to more than 7% in FY22. Financial borrowings of households is the second highest after India's independence. India's youth unemployment rate for graduates at 42%, according to a report by the Azim Premji University. Overall unemployment rate has declined since the onset of the pandemic, but it still remains above 15% for graduates. Akasa Air dismisses shutdown rumours and dispels concerns over financial stability, but admits there is a shortage of ready-to-fly pilots in the short term, remains confident of starting international operations by the end of the year. Karnataka High Court seeks the IT Ministry's explanation behind imposing blocking orders against X, which was earlier known as Twitter. The court observes that prima facie X seems to have a case, as the single-judge bench had imposed a penalty of 50 lakh rupees without any provisions under the IT rules. The centre has 1 week to respond. The Delhi High Court grants an injunction against 16 entities over the illegal and unauthorised use of film actor Anil Kapoor's name, image, voice attributes and the use of AI tools to morph his image for commercial purposes. This also includes the misuse of the catchphrase "Jhakas" in the manner in which Kapoor uses it. Meta rolls out UPI payments feature for WhatsApp, and India also launches WhatsApp Flow to empower businesses, expands Meta Verified for businesses on WhatsApp, Instagram and Facebook. Zuckerberg hails India as a world leader in digital payments. Well, we do have a packed show lined up for you, but on to the market action. It turned out to be a forgetful day for the bulls. The Nifty and the sensex fell over 1% today. In fact, the Nifty saw its worst day in 2 months, failing to hold on to the 20,000 mark. So that's the story for the Nifty, closing below 20,000, down by about 230 points. The sensex lost almost 800. The Nifty Bank down 600 and the Nifty Midcap 100 down over 100 as well. Now, the Nifty's fall came from HDFC Bank, with the bank seeing its biggest drop in the last 4 months. The major fall in HDFC Bank came after Nomura decided to downgrade the stock post its analyst meet, citing pressure on margins as well as return ratios. Midcaps did outperform the blue chips, but let's go across to Prashant. He is standing by with more details on the day's trading action. Prashant, what led to the weakness today?
Well, a down day and a deep cut, deeper than what we are used to. So the Nifty up on your screen, not at the day's low. There was a bit of a recovery, but not by much. The banks also in better shape as compared to the Nifty, and I'll come to that in terms of stocks, etc. in a bit. Broader markets, much better. I mean, the mid-cap index ending 0.25% lower. Small caps, actually, the index recovering about 0.5% in the last 60 minutes, ending down about 0.75%. I mean, it was clear from the morning that HDFC Bank would be the pressure point after disclosures made that analyst day. That was the big loser, adding the maximum pressure to the Nifty index. JSW Steel, there was no help from Reliance, and we've been pointing out how, in the uptrend recently, Reliance did not participate, and it's now pulling in the other direction. BPCL, Dr. Reddy's and Ultratech are some of the other names which put pressure. Old economy, public sector names, which are the ones which did well. So you had Power Grid, Coal India, ONGC, NTPC, all nothing large on the upside, but they all ended higher. PSU Bank started the day higher, but then complete turnaround there. IOB, Central Bank and UCO Bank were the big losers. Big winners recently like BSC, GMR Power, they pulled back. There was Cyient, which was lower, Kalyan Jewellers, RK Forgings. And of course, I mean, there's Idea Forge, 950, absolutely has taken it on the chin since the listing at about 1350 or so. Now, broader gains coming through. There were a few winners, although market breadth was sharply negative. SJV and Blue Star. There was Suzlon, which has crossed 25 rupees. IFCI, Varroc, JK Tyre was a big winner. There were names like Thermax and Nazara Technologies, which were also up and about. I mean, I think today, of course, is the big Fed decision. Although no change is expected, it still remains important. The commentary from the Fed chair, etc. But I think beyond the Fed, the big talking point and the worry is, will oil remain here and perhaps even head higher? That is something which markets do not like at all. And that's showing up not just in equities, but in the rupee as well. Back to you.
Well, thanks very much, Prashant. In fact, as Prashant was pointing out, oil prices are a cause of concern. They've fallen by over $1 ahead of the U.S. Federal Reserve's interest rate decision. Prices fell despite a bigger than expected draw in U.S. stockpiles as well as weak U.S. shale output. In the money market, the rupee rose 6 paise to 83.26 against the dollar. This on easing global crude oil prices. Let's hope that oil prices continue to trend lower. The U.S. Fed is expected to announce its monetary policy today. The central bank is widely expected to hold rates. However, the street will keep an eye on the central bank's commentary about the economy. Remember, you can catch the Fed action from 11 p.m. onwards right here on CNBC-TV18. We'll be live with the action from Wall Street as well as Fed Chief Jerome Powell. Back home, Indian households are seeing their savings dwindle and debt burden rise. This as per an RBI report. Household savings in FY23 has declined to the lowest level in 47 years. At the same time, liabilities are rising and household borrowing is at the second highest level since independence. Ritu joins us now with the details. Ritu, explain to us what is the story that the RBI's data is telling us.
Well, Indian household savings have collapsed to a near 5-decade low, with surging inflation forcing people to dip into their savings and borrow more to fulfill their consumption needs. Recent data from RBI shows that household net financial assets, or simply put, household savings, have hit a 47-year low, dropping to 5.1% of the GDP in FY23 from the previous year's 7.2%. During the peak of the pandemic in FY21, when spending options were limited, household savings had then surged to 11.5% of GDP, and it's a significant decline from those levels. Now, RBI shows household savings data as net financial assets, which is essentially gross financial assets, that is your bank deposits, capital market investments, life insurance, PFs, etc., minus the gross financial liabilities you have, which is your bank borrowings, NBFC loans, etc. Now, what was even more worrying in this data was that household savings fell as liabilities rose very sharply to 5.8% of the GDP in FY23 from 3.8% a year ago, and this is the second highest level in the post-independence period. Now, while borrowings rose, household assets also fell to 10.9% of the GDP from 11.1% the year before. Accordingly, household debt as a percentage of GDP has risen to 37.6% in FY23 from 36.9% the year before. Now, if you further analyze the data, the share of currency and small savings in household assets declined during FY23 over the previous year, while the share of bank deposits has increased. The share of capital market investments has quadrupled to an average of 0.8% of GDP in the past 7 years, from just 0.2% of the GDP in the years before demonetization, and savings in pension and provident funds has been largely stable. Now, this decline in household savings raises concerns because with unanimous expectations of a shrinking current account deficit, investments can only increase if savings rise faster. Now, household savings are also primary source for financing the fiscal deficit, and if they fail to rebound, funding a narrowing fiscal deficit could become increasingly challenging.
Ritu, many thanks for joining us. That is the latest there. That's the story that the RBI data is telling us when we talk about household savings and the sharp drop that we've seen there. After skyrocketing in the month of August, tomato prices are doing the opposite. Prices have now plummeted in parts of the country. States like Maharashtra, Karnataka and Andhra Pradesh have recorded bumper yields. Now, in order to help farmers, the union government is looking to purchase tomatoes directly from them in areas where high production led to low prices. Sources say the Consumer Affairs Ministry's Price Stabilization Fund will be used for the procurement. The government is also likely to sell tomatoes in areas that are seeing a shortage. India's competition regulator has appointed 3 new members to oversee cases. With this, there is finally a quorum at the CCI. The new appointees include Anil Agarwal, former Director General of Police, Shweta Kakkar, a former executive at WhatsApp, and former CAG official Deepak Anurag. The competition regulator was unable to take several decisions over the last many months due to the lack of quorum. Well, the big national story is the ongoing diplomatic standoff between India and Canada. External Affairs Minister Jaishankar met Prime Minister Modi in the new Parliament building today amidst the diplomatic tussle. Meanwhile, Canada has expelled a senior Indian diplomat yesterday, citing what Canada believes is credible intelligence of the Indian government's links to the murder of Sikh separatist leader Hardeep Singh Nijjar in July this year. Nijjar was designated as a terrorist in 2020 by India. The Indian government has called the allegations that Canada has levelled against the government's involvement absurd and motivated, and retaliated by expelling a Canadian diplomat. Speaking to the media today, Prime Minister Trudeau said the Indian government needs to take the matter with utmost seriousness. The Indian government has also issued an advisory for Indian students and Indian nationals in Canada, asking them to exercise utmost caution while travelling. The Australian government has expressed, and I quote, deep concern over the allegations made by Canada, and said that they are monitoring the situation closely.
India and the government of India needs to take this matter with the utmost seriousness. We are doing that. We are not looking to provoke or escalate. We are simply laying out the facts as we understand them, and we want to work with the government of India to lay everything clear.
These are concerning reports, and I note that investigations are still underway. But obviously, these are concerning reports, and as I've said, we are monitoring these developments closely with our partners. And will continue to do so.
Well, that's the latest on the diplomatic standoff between India and Canada. In Parliament, the debate on the Women's Reservation Bill, which entails an amendment to the Constitution, kick-started in the Lok Sabha. Now, the bill proposes to reserve 1/3 of all seats for women in the Lok Sabha and the state legislative assemblies. 1/3 of the total number of seats reserved for scheduled castes and scheduled tribes shall be reserved for women as well. However, there are plenty of caveats. Both houses of Parliament need to pass the bill by a special majority, and this implies a support from over 50% of the total strength of the House. Moreover, the amendment will need to be ratified by at least 50% of the states. Secondly, the bill will come into effect after the 2026 delimitation exercise is undertaken. The exercise is predicated on the census numbers. Now, India's census exercise has been delayed since 2021. Opposition leaders, including Sonia Gandhi, supported the bill in the Lok Sabha, but have demanded OBC quotas and an early implementation of the law.
खुद मेरी जिंदगी का यह बहुत मार्मिक क्षण है। राजीव गांधी जी का सपना अभी तक आधा ही पूरा हुआ है। इस बिल के पारित होने के साथ ही वह पूरा होगा।
28th Amendment Bill 23. Sir, I stand on behalf of the Nationalist Congress Party in full support of this bill.
They said that they have to involve all stakeholders, political parties, and then build a consensus before bringing the bill. I'd like to know what consensus was built, what discussions were held.
This is not the historic bill that it is being touted as. It is a sham. And for the women and the men and the girls and the boys who will be the future women and men of India, we had better recognize this because it is staring at us in the face.
जब ये अधिनियम लागू होगा, तब के बाद 15 वर्षों तक महिलाओं को रिजर्वेशन गारंटी करती है, मोदी की गारंटी है.
Well, that is the debate in the Lok Sabha on the Women's Reservation Bill. But as we've been pointing out, there is no clarity yet on the timeline for its implementation. The unemployment rate for educated youth under the age of 25 is over 40%. Now, this as per a report by the Azim Premji University, which highlights that the pace of regular wage job creation has declined since 2019 due to the growth slowdown and the COVID-19 pandemic. Shivani is here with more on what the report says. Shivani, take us through the highlights.
unemployment rate in India has declined post-COVID-19 pandemic for all education levels, but it remains above 15% for graduates. That's not all. The number has reached as high as 42% for graduates under the age of 25 years. According to a report by Azim Premji University, between 2004 and 2017, around 3 million regular wage jobs were created annually in India. Between 2017 and 2019, the regular jobs jumped to 5 million per year. This trend took a hit since 2019 due to the growth slowdown and the pandemic. Now for women, the employment rate have risen since 2019, but the sign is not very heartening. The report suggests that in 2004, salaried women workers earned around 70% of what men earned. By 2017, the gap had marginally reduced and women started earning 76% of what men did. Since then, the gap has remained constant till 2021 and 22. Now, the report says that before COVID, 50% of women were self-employed and the number rose to 60% post-COVID-19 pandemic. However, there is a clear indication from the data that earnings from self-employment declined in real terms. On a positive note, the report suggests that caste-based segregation of jobs has reduced, with the over-representation of scheduled caste workers in waste and leather-related work going down. However, lower caste entrepreneurs are still rare in India. SC and ST owners are barely represented among firms employing more than 20 workers.
Shivani, many thanks for joining us. Up next, Meta rolls out UPI payments feature for WhatsApp in India, also launches WhatsApp Flow to empower businesses. That and more when we return. Akasa Air has dismissed shutdown rumours and dispelled concerns over its financial stability. The airline says it is facing a shortage of cockpit crew after a certain number of pilots quit without serving the mandatory notice period. In a letter to employees, the CEO Vinay Dubey has assured that the airline has enough cash in its banks and is on track to fly international. Danish joins us now with more details. Danish, the airline is rationalising operations on account of a pilot shortage, but what else did Vinay Dubey have to say to employees?
Well, India's newest commercial airline, Akasa Air, is facing turbulence due to shortage of pilots, which will impact its operations and market share in the weeks to come. However, Akasa CEO, in an internal email accessed by CNBC-TV18, reassured the employees that the airline is not shutting down and the future plans are secure, and the airline will continue to invest prudently with longer-term financial success in focus. Over 30 pilots abandoned their duties and left without serving the notice period, which disrupted Akasa's flight operations between July and September. In the last 30 days, the airline has rationalized its network and has decided to fly less and give up the market share in the short term. Akasa has reduced the frequency of flights on several routes. The CEO further also informed that the airline has enough pilots that are being trained in different phases to fly its entire fleet. Akasa is also on track to announce a new aircraft order in triple digits by the end of this year. Recently, the airline also received an international scheduled operator tag by the DGCA, which permits it to fly to international destinations, and the airline is also waiting to get traffic rights from the Civil Aviation Ministry. The airline has also filed petitions against pilots in the Bombay and Delhi High Court.
Danish, many thanks for joining us. Now, Meta India has made a slew of new launches today. It's also introduced UPI-powered payments on WhatsApp. Shilpa standing by to wrap up the action from Meta. Shilpa.
Rolled out a whole host of business-related features both for consumers and for its 200 million business app users across its platform. Now, this ranges from features that will allow you to book, say, a train or a flight ticket within a WhatsApp chat, or pay for that dress that you're buying on WhatsApp, even using rival payment methods like Paytm, PhonePe or Google Pay without even leaving the chat, and also now a Meta verified badge for businesses as well. The idea behind all of this, to speed up how business gets done on a WhatsApp chat.
What we launched today was an expansion of the ability to go beyond WhatsApp as the payment method and really have access for people and the choice to use all UPI apps. And we've done this expanded partnership with Razorpay and PayU, and we're hoping to continue to grow this even more.
With general elections looming in India, Meta is now gearing up to fight misinformation online. Meta's head in India, Sandhya Devanathan, spoke to Shibani Garat about how the company is planning to fight fake news across its various platforms, including using artificial intelligence.
We take election integrity super seriously on our platforms, and we understand our responsibility here, and we've seen 200 elections play out play out globally, right? The goal really is to balance giving users a voice, making them a part of the civic process, but at the same time, we want to combat hate speech. We want to combat user harm. Underpinning all of this is the investments that we made in AI specifically. We use AI very extensively on our platform, and we use that to combat any abuse or fake accounts on our platforms, and we've invested a fair amount.
Creators on both Facebook and Instagram are now working overtime as the festive season rolls in. They continue to have a significant influence on the clothes, accessories, gadgets that people buy online. And now, with the launch of all these tools for businesses, both Meta and the businesses on Meta are betting big on the festive season to rake in the moolah. In Mumbai, Shilpa Ranipeta.
Well, new offerings there from WhatsApp. And with that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of Business 360. Thanks very much for watching. Do stay tuned. News will continue here on CNBC TV 18.